Well, yesterday I said that there was some unexpected news in the Guild Wars circuit. Well, today there was even more unexpected news coming from the man Colin Johansson himself, describing to us that next week, starting on the 7th through till the 10th, there will be the first Heart of Thorns beta weekend event. Alright, now you're probably thinking, WP, I've seen a lot of your videos recently, and you've been saying, hey, there's this beta, and that's because ArenaNet have been calling them betas, but in truth, these other events that have been running are more stress tests. They've been running for as little as 3 hours at a time, and they have been very small slices of the experience. Well, you remember before GW2 came out, we actually had whole weekend-long opportunities to test the game, and there were 3 of them, 3 beta weekend events. These were big moments, and the first of these for Heart of Thorns, or like a true beta if you will, is actually going to be starting on the 7th and going through till the 10th. So I want to talk a little bit about that for you guys today. I didn't want to just rehash the news though, so as an added bonus, we're going to have a look at the history of beta weekend events and all the crazy, special, odd things ArenaNet have done before with the footage to boot. So, what exactly are we getting? I have to say, some of these other beta weekend events I haven't been too excited about. Maybe it was dull because I got to play Heart of Thorns way back in February, and then the future beta where we got to go to Verdant Brink. It wasn't going to be too different, but they're actually announcing a lot of stuff we can play now. Basically, everything you've seen them announce and reveal on the streams. Yeah, that's right, the Elite Specializations too. Okay, so here's how it's going to work. If you have pre-purchased, again, this is only for people who actually pre-purchased the game, you will be, over that weekend, given not just 1 beta character slot, you'll be given 4. They're giving you 4 characters to play at any point throughout the weekend on the live game, in the live environment. When you make one of these characters, it will instantly be level 80, it will instantly be geared exactly as you want it to be, and for that character, you can choose to play, first of all, the Revenant. The Revenant's returning, you will be able to play the 9th Profession, every one of the legends revealed, including Shiro, and weapon swap. So proper DPS-y Revenants will now be testable, and they do keep saying, hey, these are betas, this is for you to give your feedback, so this is a chance for us to actually know whether it's going to have a comfortable place in the game anywhere or be incredibly undertuned as it was the last time we saw it. So the Revenant's coming back, but if you were to choose, say, a Mesmer, a Guardian, a Necromancer, or an Elementalist, you will also then be able to specialize its elite specialization and play one of these new subclasses, the Tempest and so forth. So these even we can test and see whether these will have a place in various areas of the game. And I do mean in various areas of the game. Just like the last stress test we had, these characters will be playable anywhere in regular Tyria. Not just any Tyria, but while you're on that beta character, you can go to the new Heart of Thorns area too. So when you first make that character, it's going to be like the old test when we got to go to Verdant Brink. You'll start in the Silver Wastes, in a story instance, you'll be able to go to Verdant Brink. They say that about 25% of the map is still there, and I'm actually going to quote Colin here, because this is something I do believe, even though it's a bit disappointing for us to hear, oh, there's only 25% of Verdant Brink, okay? I do believe very much in what he said here. He said, we're not going to show everything in these beta weekend events. We want to keep a strong sense of discovery and not spoil huge parts of the story ahead of time. We'll only ever, in these beta weekend events, be showing the first story chapter. So this actually means more story than we've currently seen. Like currently we see like 1 instance or 2 instances. I'm guessing they might show a little bit more. But he says that we'll only ever be showing the first story chapter and parts of the first map during these weekends. And this is to ensure that there is, and I quote directly here, an entire world of discovery that awaits you at launch. Oh, doesn't that sound exciting? I like the fact he says an entire world. Like, I'm so pessimistic about how many maps they're actually going to add. I would not be surprised if it's like 4 maps and they try and leave it there, and that's going to make me so sad. But then he says, oh, there's an entire world of discovery. Please let there be. Please. And so, yeah, we only get 25% of Verdant Brink. That's fine. Can you imagine the excitement of launch day? It'll feel like the launch of the game again. A whole world for us to explore. Oh, I don't know, something about this article really gets to me. So we will get to do that. Verdant Brink isn't exactly the same. They say that there's been a lot of polish. You guys will remember from my coverage even of the previous beta weekend event, every now and then you get items that were placeholders. You'd see enemies that had placeholder names. You'd have areas that weren't functioning quite well. The meta event at night was really confusing and not very fun. All this stuff is specifically mentioned as having been improved and stuff that they want feedback on. So I'll be spending some time in Verdant Brink over that weekend, and I'll be giving you guys some of that footage myself. The adventures in Verdant Brink as well are going to be activated for their leaderboards too. So leaderboards will be there, and the mastery system has been re-enabled. So before, the problem with the mastery system was it's your end game progression, and a huge factor of that is how long does it take? Is it fun to level? Is it way too quick? Are people going to be done with all their masteries in the first week of launch, which is what I'm terrified they're going to do? You know, we couldn't really test that in such small windows. Well, now we get to play the game the entire weekend, not just the Maguma Jungle masteries in theory, maybe the other ones too, question mark? So we'll get to really experience these for a long period of time, so I'm very happy about that. And yeah, we got masteries to look out for, leaderboards to look out for, elite specializations to play. Then, on top of that, they did mention at the end of one of their blog posts the new map bonus system. So just like in Silver Waste and Dry Top in game right now, if you complete an event in those maps, you get like a bonus chest that gives you a specific currency for that map. That's going across the entire game. So there's incentive to go to all the maps of Guild Wars 2, complete events there, and get guaranteed like rare materials. So if you specifically want loads of powerful blood, during this beta weekend event, one of those maps out there, in theory, will be giving us T6 powerful blood for completing events there. You know, there's maybe a rare chance, but it will be there. And so it's supposed to be a dedicated way for us to earn materials, and that's going to change a lot of Tyria. So that's going to be activated for the event too. Over on the PvP side, Stronghold is returning, so that means elite specializations in Stronghold. That means the Revenant with weapon swap and Shiro in Stronghold. There is no World vs. World New Borderland during this event. That's like the one thing that they're not doing. Everything else is there, though. Half of the elite specializations, and it's going to be running all weekend. So there you go. Yeah, caveat is you kind of have to pre-purchase to be able to play it, unlike the original betas where it was kind of, hey, try the game out for free. But, you know, I like it. I like that they're not showing us everything. I do think that's important. And I say that as someone in a position where I kind of live off of being able to give you guys news about the game. And even appreciating that, I'm like, okay, don't give us everything. And that makes me quite happy. Alright, I could leave the video there, but I did want to talk to you guys about previous betas, maybe something we can expect from the next one, because it is a proper beta weekend event. You'll find that ArenaNet might do something special at the end of it. See, this franchise has a history of when its beta weekend events end, the devs throw something fun and kooky and weird and cool in just for the people who were testing and stuck it out right until the end. These things don't necessarily take a lot of dev time from them. They're not like super high quality things that we're supposed to critique the head out of. It's a little bit similar to the jokes they do for April Fool's Day, I suppose. But some of them are really good for Guild Wars 2, and I wanted to talk you guys through what they did with this franchise. And as a bonus, let's have a look at what Guild Wars 1 Prophecies looked like in its alpha state.
Our guild gathers before each battle. It is a time of planning and of friendship. Together, we face the challenges ahead. For although we are many, we are united as one.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, this was the humble beginnings of Guild Wars. This was back when it was a PvP-based game, and the name Guild Wars made a lot more sense. Very interesting. I'll throw some screenshots up for you guys. This was the alpha. This wasn't something people really got to play. It changed a lot by the time we got to the betas, but the original Guild Wars 1 betas were very different too. Their skill systems and their user interfaces and the way that signets worked and the way you buffed your attributes, all of that stuff was very different before the eventual release of that game. That said, some of the later beta weekend events we had included, most famously at the end, a little girl named Gwen. In Guild Wars 1 Prophecies, she was this sweet girl that you could do a couple of quests with, and you could like find her a cape and give it to her, and she'd wear it, and you could give her a flute and she'd start wearing that, and she'd sing and dance, and she'd slowly like learn to really enjoy your company. She was a cool character people liked, and so for the end of the beta, they had her go crazy and kill everyone in all of the outposts. Itself a bit of a novelty. She summoned these firestorms on everyone, a really crappy effect these days, as she sung and danced and laughed her way around you like some kind of maniac. Yeah, scary stuff, and she got a bit of a cult following right then and there as a big character in the franchise, and in the end had an entire storyline dedicated to her in a future expansion. That's not all they did for Guild Wars 1, though. Looking at the wiki, they actually say that one of the last beta weekend events had a bunch of infernal worms, which were big, dangerous, scary worms, coming out of the Tomb of the Primeval Kings, which at the time was like the high-end PvP stuff. And these guys came out and presumably killed everyone. However, this is such a rare and little-known fact, I couldn't find any footage of it on YouTube whatsoever. Then, of course, we had Factions and we had Nightfall. Nightfall, I have no idea what they did for the beta weekend event. I can't see any real documentation at all. I guess it was just a sneak peek. People got to play it and maybe they didn't do anything special. I do have this video here that I found of some guys playing the Guild Wars 1 Factions beta event. You can see the corrupted Kunavang in kind of some weird places. So maybe they were doing something interesting with that event there. But again, these things, despite the fact they're not even 10 years old, documentation on them is fewer and fewer further between. So these are things, for what it's worth, I was not that majorly into this community. I did not follow these betas for the first game that closely, and this is really out of my knowledge. This is before my time. Eye of the North, pretty sure they didn't do anything special here. They did have a preview event where you could go in and experience the game, but ArenaNet really had their shit together at this point. You have to remember that Eye of the North, once they've made Eye of the North, they already knew they were making Guild Wars 2. This is way further on down the timeline. They had a really good grasp on the engine that they had, its capabilities, and I guess there was a little bit less ado about the Eye of the North preview event, but once again, I never really participated in that either. Let's fast forward to Guild Wars 2. So, Guild Wars 2 had a bunch of stress tests, just as we've seen basically Heart of Thorns stress tests, you know, beta stress tests as they've been calling them. And then it also had 3 beta weekend events. We're moving into the first Heart of Thorns one now. There were 3 beta weekend events, but before the beta weekend events, there were closed beta events. And I believe for the very first closed beta test, really there was no media, there was nothing like that. For the second and third, a few prominent people, big YouTubers, prominent members of the community, of which I will let you guys know I was none of these things at that time, they were all invited to be able to get footage and stuff of Guild Wars 2, and so we have some videos. And you would think because these were closed beta tests, and because they were kind of media tests or whatever, ArenaNet wouldn't do anything special for that, would they? But they actually did! My understanding before making this video today was that a bunch of giants attacked Divinity's Reach. They went to the large gardens in the center of Divinity's Reach and slaughtered everyone there, a little bit like Gwen had killed people back in Guild Wars 1. I can't find any footage of this anymore, but the wiki states that actually it was an attack by the Asura on Divinity's Reach, and perhaps they had just summoned and brought giants along with them, and this was the idea. But so that did actually happen. Unfortunately, all I have is kind of this generic footage for you guys of those early tests, because I couldn't get this anywhere. Moving on to the beta weekend events. These are the ones that you guys are going to a lot of you will start nodding your heads to and remembering. These were really fun. Again, I remind you that apparently the devs didn't spend long developing these at all. And for how big some of these events are, you'd be surprised to see how prominent they were. Alright, beta weekend event 1. This was your main opportunity as a member of the public, the first time to really step into Tyria from the comfort of your own homes without having to rely on demos and stuff like that they'd been shown at conventions. This culminated with the Great Critter Hunt. And so for the last little while before the beta closed, if you went to Wayfarer Foothills, you would be a part of a map-wide meta event to kill a bunch of critters around the map. So rabbits, raccoons, enemies like that usually would be ambients you just one-shot, but are now stronger. And for everyone that was killed, your server would get like a little tally. And the servers were kind of competing against one another. It was which server would end up managing to get to the most. And of course at that time everyone was kind of flushed out. No one had really picked proper servers. We were all spread evenly and it was just kind of this fun little thing to do. Eventually though, it did result in fighting champion versions of these ambients. I remember fighting a champion rabbit near the body of Jormungandr, which is the worm you kill in the Norn tutorial, and I remember spending ages there. It was my first experience of world bosses where enemies just take forever to die and don't really seem to do anything in response. That rabbit was basically in that situation. Really, really deadly rabbit, and a fun novelty for everyone just stepping their feet into Tyria. So that was the first one. Then we had Beta Weekend Event 2. This, in my opinion, is probably the most famous one. This was the branded event. Once again, they took the idea of having a large meta event spanning across an entire map. This time, it wasn't the non-starter map, it was the Char starter map, Plains of Ashford. And what happened here was the Shatterer would start flying around the map, as he never has in live, flying around the map, dropping these large crystals down and releasing branded. If you died to these branded, you yourself would become one. And it was kind of a map-wide game of zombies. It introduced a bit of open-world PvP between players, and you would have to defend yourself from the other players out there who had become branded and been given new skill bars and so forth. I remember dying very quick during this event and being kind of sad that other people were still surviving because it was chaos. You had no idea what was going on, and this was a really fun twist on the way the map worked. In fact, there are certain elements of this event that still kind of affect the game. When they made the mega server change, for example, certain waypoints became contested in Plains of Ashford while you're in other maps, because they could be contested. And why could they be contested? Because of this event. So the waypoint, for example, outside of Ascalon Catacombs, that shows as contested, but it was only because this event still existed in the code, yet it never ran. Kind of an interesting little thing for you guys there. And then lastly, we had Beta Weekend Event 3. This one, though the other one I think is more iconic and more people remember it, this one was probably my favorite. This was the Hunger Royale. It's basically Hunger Games in Guild Wars 2. Now we are in Metrica Province, the Asura starting area, and you had 4 teams, red, blue, green, and yellow, was it? People were split into these 3 teams. You had constant health degeneration. Imagine a giant map-wide version of South Sun Survival with teams. And the last team standing won. And you kind of got to have a little bit of a practice round early on, and as you can see in the footage here, it really started to heat up, and it was very, very scary. Again, I died incredibly early on this and ended up feeling a bit sour. But this kind of permadeathy style open world PvP things, we've never seen the likes of them in Guild Wars 2. There were comments way back when that these events could be ran for special weekends and stuff, you know, flippantly mentioned by devs back then. Obviously has never happened. And I just wonder now, what are ArenaNet possibly going to do for the first Heart of Thorns beta weekend event, which is going to be running really, really soon. So, there you go, guys. That's the video for today. Hope you learned some cool stuff. Try not to miss out on this one, I guess, because, you know, in 5 more years, there'll be someone else just like me, talking just like I am about this event as if it's also ancient history. Isn't that a bizarre thought? Catch you guys next time.